I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. This has been in the works for a really long time. It's been something that I've always been passionate about, and I've never had the opportunity to do it. And after being in the house for almost a year now, I figured I'd try something new. So here I am. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Anyway, so I want this channel to be kind of just a reflection of who I am. There's gonna be a ton of true crime, but there's also going to be a ton of other things too. I love supernatural. Not the show. The show's good too, but that's not what I'm referring to. Um, Anyway, this first video is going to be a true crime video on the case of Derrick Robie. He was a 4-year-old little boy, super cute. He, at the time, lived with his mom and dad, and he had a little brother. He was, I believe, 18 months old when all of this happened. Derrick was 4. So this happened the summer of 1993. Derrick had been from a really well family, and this summer he was going to a summer camp every day, and he lived very close by. Like, I think it was 500 feet. So it was such a short walk, and normally his mom walked him every morning to this place. However, in this occasion, sorry, I had to show my door. In this occasion, this morning, Derrick asked his mom if he could go by himself. The reason for this is that he was already running a little bit late. His mom was kind of just trying to get his younger brother to stop crying. He had been fussing a little bit, and he was running late, and he really wanted to go, and it was such a short walk. He asked his mom if he could go by himself, to where his mom said yes. Now, keep in mind, this was in 1993. Things were a lot different than they are today. Today, everyone knows the dangers of even walking outside, and it's kind of scary that something as simple as walking outside can be such a dangerous thing. But at the time back then, it wasn't as well known, especially not from the person who did this. You would never ever have expected this outcome. But basically, his mom said yes because his younger brother was very fussy, and so he's like, she agreed. She's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So he walked out. Less than maybe 4 minutes have gone by, and he never showed up to camp. Now, it wasn't until later that afternoon, so there had been a thunderstorm that had started, so the camp decided to close down early. Well, now, they had already kind of known if it was going to rain, they were going to close down early, so it did rain. So his mom went to go pick Derrick up. Now, Derrick, never went. So when his mom went to go pick him up from the summer camp, she was told that he never even made it to camp. So they didn't know where he was. She freaked out immediately and started calling, looking for him, everything. The cops did the best that they could in this case. A lot of times we realize cops don't manage things the way they're supposed to. However, in this case, we can't really say that because they did try their best. Immediately, searches started. They had canines, they had everything trying to look for Derrick. They even interviewed a ton of the local kids that had been around the same area that day. They were interviewed, and you know, there was a lot of things that we just, it was so normal. Like, I personally never went to a summer camp, but that was just because I didn't have any interests like that. However, I know a lot of people do go to summer camps, and that's what they like to spend their time on, especially as a child. So, this day, it's just a day full of nightmares. They interviewed every kid, every adult. They went to knocking around with no response. Now, there was this kid who started asking too many questions that normally a kid would not ask. So, there was a boy, he was 13, his name was Eric Smith. It's just so sad. Growing up, Eric Smith as a child, he claims did not have a very good childhood. He actually had an older sister, and they shared the same parents. However, Eric did not know his biological father. In fact, he believed that his stepfather was his biological father, and the crazy thing is that his biological father would always visit his sister and bring her gifts and, spend holidays with her. However, he never saw Eric as his son, because apparently at the time there were rumors about Eric's mom cheating on his dad, and so it never really. He just denied that Eric was his son. However, at a certain time, he did find out, and by this time, I believe he was around 9, and he was very angry because he only knew his biological dad as my sister's dad, not as his own dad. So that really, really hurt him. And his stepfather, there were talks about him being an alcoholic and abusive. However, it's not really well known. Everything that I could find online said that for the most part he had a good childhood. However, there was, ever since he was young, he had some issues. He, as a toddler, would bang his head against the wall if he didn't get what he wanted, or he'd hold his breath in until he turned purple, which is actually a sign of behavioral issues, and he was doing this when he was a baby, so definitely had behavioral issues even as a baby. However, things would get much worse. As a child, he would try to kill animals, birds. He actually killed one of his neighbor's cat. And those are normally all signs of a killer. I don't want to. I mean, in general, why would you do that to an animal? That's so messed up. Like, I can't. Like, that's so sad. I've got 2 dogs. One time my grandma made me kill a chicken because it was dinner. I cried for a week straight, and I still have trouble eating chicken. So I just can't imagine doing that for fun. Yet Eric would do this for fun. So, and Eric was actually going to the same camp as Derrick. And so this morning, camp hadn't even started yet. However, Eric was already at camp hanging out with the kids, and he kept going to a restricted area that the kids weren't allowed to go in. So his camp counselor told him, hey, you know, just go home for the day because I keep telling you that you cannot come here and you continue to disobey the rules. So finally he was told to go home. On his way home is when Derrick was on his way to camp. So again, it was a really, really close distance. Normally it wouldn't have happened, however this day it did happen, and we're not here to judge Derrick's mom. We're not here to make her feel bad. I would hate for her to see this video and see hateful comments, so we're not going to deal with that. At the end of the day, you were not Derrick's parent, so we're just not gonna deal with that. But basically, on his way home, he saw Derrick, and Eric was actually on his bike, and he saw Derrick, and he went up to Derrick, and he's like, hey kid, I'll show you a faster way to the camp. And Derrick actually knew he was not supposed to go with anyone who was not his parent. He actually said, no, I can't do that. However, he was already running late, and so it was really easy for Eric to convince him to go. He's like, well, you'll be everyone there. I can show you a shortcut. So even though he knew he shouldn't have gone with Eric, he decided to go anyways because he was running late to camp. So Eric walked him to a nearby forest that was nearby. And he let Derrick walk in front of him, and when he walked in front of him, Eric decided to choke him from the back, so like with his elbow, if that makes sense. Like he went around his neck like this, and then he started loosening up, and he heard him gasp for air, so he tightened it more this time, but he actually did it with both his hands this time around, and he passed out. So he laid him down, and this is where the horror, as if being choked wasn't enough already. Now, disclaimer, okay, hold on. Before I even say it, I just want to say this is a 4-year-old little boy, okay, and it's very upsetting, and it's very graphic, and it's violent. So if you cannot do that situation, please don't watch this video, because I mean, I'm not going to go greatly into detail, but I am going to mention what was happening. So if you guys don't like to hear, don't want to hear about it, exit out. I'm not going to judge you for that, because even reading it was very upsetting. So, okay, to carry on. So he laid him down, and this is where he picked up a small rock and started hitting him on his head many, many, many times. And then finally, he knew he was gone. However, even then still, he grabbed a 26-pound rock, which, like, that's a heavy, heavy rock for a 13-year-old boy. He picked up a 26-pound rock and threw it at Derrick's chest 3 times. And that's horrible. Derrick also at the time had a lunch bag that his mom had given to him for lunch that day. It included a sandwich, a banana, and some red Kool-Aid. Well, Eric drank the Kool-Aid, he started drinking the Kool-Aid and then poured it all over Derrick's body. And then he smashed the banana and ate the sandwich. And then he left. And, later on is when his mom would go pick up Derrick and find out that he never even went to camp, which scared her very much. And they started looking for Derrick immediately. The crazy part about all of this is that Eric actually helped with the investigation. He would hand out flyers and look around. However, what they started to notice was that he would constantly ask about DNA, and he'd ask questions like, well, what happened if a kid did it? What happens if it was a kid who did something to Derrick? And this all kind of started giving out red flags. So Eric had a best friend who he would spend the night at their house constantly. And it was this then that he would ask his friend's parents, like, well, what happens if it was a kid? And, his friend's mom was always like, oh, well, I'm sure they'll have some stuff they need to explain, but it'll all be okay. However, she just thought it was a little weird. He was constantly asking about DNA, constantly asking, what if a kid did it? And that's not normally a question that comes up at such a young age. I mean, I remember being that age, and that was never something I questioned. I didn't even start getting into true crime, like actually knowing anything about DNA, until I was in high school, and this was 1993. So DNA was still very new. So how did he think of asking about DNA? Does that make sense? Like, I just feel like you're not questioning crimes like that at 13, especially not back then. But that's just me, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so they started realizing, okay, like, they started realizing that the banana was squashed. Everything else had been at least tasted. However, the banana was, like, they thought that was weird. So this smart mom, Eric was always over hanging out with her son. And so one day, she thought she would do a little experiment. So she went to go get some supplies, and she came home and she asked the kids, hey, do you guys want sundaes? Like, who doesn't? It's ice cream. Like, let's have, do you guys want some sundaes? They all said yes, and they're like, okay, like, what toppings do you guys want on your sundaes? She was asking them. And she goes, Eric, do you want bananas on your sundae? He goes, no, I hate bananas. So that kind of was another clue to her that she thought it was kind of weird. She's like, well, I thought every kid loved bananas. And he responded angrily with, no, I hate bananas. And just the way that he responded also was another clue for her, and she started voicing out her opinions. And the cops at this time had actually already been looking into Eric because of the fact that he said he saw the kid, but then he had horrible eyesight. He wore thick glasses, and so from the distance, it's a short distance, however, from the distance that Eric was riding the bike, they did the math and they're like, yeah, now how could he see exactly what he was wearing and exactly what lunch bag he had? Like, it just wasn't, it didn't make sense, right? As it shouldn't. So they were like starting to question him and be like, well, can you, like, where were you? Like, let's reenact it. Where were you when you saw him walk by? And they realized, okay, like, something's not right about it. Well, Eric's grandfather and great grandfather, they started speaking to him and they started talking about how it was really important to let them know and that he wasn't going to get in trouble. I'm going to be honest, I can't remember if it was his grandfather or his great grandfather, but one of them had been an ex-cop. So they're like, they started really going hard and questioning him hard because just certain things he would say or ask just wasn't adding up. So finally he's like, okay, yes, I did it. I killed Derrick. And this was only within a week. Within a week he had confessed and figured it out, and so they called the cops and he told them that he didn't really know why. He just said that he saw him and he was very, very angry that he had gotten kicked out of camp, and he just wanted to hurt someone. And that's the crazy thing, is that you go back and it's like, you were 13. Like, that's... I just find it crazy, like, how... I mean, any person at any age is gonna think that's wrong. However, for you to be so messed up to the point where you have no problem killing animals and then killing a 4-year-old little boy just because you're mad and have, like, personal issues going on, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, it's just crazy to me, I guess. And at the end of all of this, he was convicted for his murder towards Derrick. And the reason why okay, I've been wanting to do this for a while, like I said. And I was always like, okay, but what case? Because I love true crime and I always am like, okay, let's find a case, let's research and all of this. Well, props to those fellow YouTubers who do this on a weekly basis, because first off, it's a ton of research, a ton of work, and I'm just like, wow, I really did myself that way. But anyway, I just know that it was a really long case, and when I started researching this case, one of my friends had actually recommended I look into it. I had already heard about it, I just hadn't done my own research for it, so I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So I start looking into it, and then I realized, like, so upon doing some further research, I realized that just this last year, June or July, can't quite remember, I'm gonna be honest, my memory sucks so bad, but I realized that he had actually tried to get out of jail for the 10th time. 10th time in 2020. He was denied the appeal. Although ever since he did go to jail, he has said that he apologizes for what he's done and that he truly regrets what he has done, and he realized what he did was wrong and all of that. stuff, which, the other day I can't remember who I was speaking about this with, but I was talking about how, what do you guys think? Okay, kids, like, he was so young, he didn't, it's like, you can't compare a child's mind with an adult's mind, right? However, at the same time, it's like they still knew what's right from wrong. They still knew that wasn't okay. I mean, Eric went as far as to, try to hide the body with some, bushes that were there. So if you're thinking about, okay, not only did I kill this boy, but I can't get caught, I have to hide his body too. I feel like, you belong in jail forever. I understand he was a child as well. Maybe he didn't know fully what he was doing. However, at the same time, it's like, no, but you knew what you were doing because you knew well enough to hide the body, right? So, no. No, we don't accept that. You belong in jail for the rest of your life. You took a life, now you get to spend your life in jail forever. You get no freedom because you took someone else's freedom. So, at the end of the day, that is what I believe. I just don't, as much as they're kids and he might have had a rough childhood, he might have been bullied, all of that, I understand. However, every kid goes through bullying at some stage in their younger lives, right? So, if the rest of society can go through bullying and not commit any murder because they know it's wrong, why is it that you couldn't do the same? I disagree very much. I don't think he should come out of jail. We're not doing that. And that was pretty much my first story. So thank you guys for staying here with me and taking the time to listen. My condolences go out to Derrick's family. This was not that long ago. It may seem like maybe it